Act of Esme Lennox, and I got this book from my mum, and it was one of the books for World Book Day in 2012. I had it for a while, annoyingly. I've only just got around to reading it because of university, and it was really, really good. It's meant to be given out to, once you read it, you need to pass it on, so I've got someone I'm going to be passing it on to. And it's one of a million given out on April 23rd, which is Shakespeare's death day, and his birthday as well. And it's just in order to share the love of books around with people who might not have access to books, perhaps, I don't know. And I thought that's why I would definitely read it, do a review on it. And basically, my first thing about it is it's a really haunting story. Like, it's kind of story that's going to stay with me now for quite a while. It follows Esme Lennox, obviously. It's got three main characters. There's Esme, Kitty and Iris. Esme and Kitty are sisters, and in the present time they're both quite old, over the age of 60 obviously, definitely, probably I would imagine around the age of 70. And then there's Iris, who is the granddaughter of Kitty. And basically it uses a time-shifting narrative quite a lot. So 1 second you're 1 second you're in present day, then you're all of a sudden back in the 1930s. And I thought, while I do really quite like things like that, I thought this one was potentially not that good, because you don't actually find out until you're halfway through reading it that you're actually in a different time. You have to work it out while you're reading it. So if she's talking about Esme and Kitty being together, then the chances are she's a flashback, but not always. And it's a bit, and because it's not got chapters, it's just got breaks. You all of a sudden you don't completely realise. Plus I kind of felt that it wasn't constantly holding my attention, so I kept getting a little bit confused, but maybe that was just me being a bit lazy. It's basically, I think one of the good points about it is that it's a really interesting depiction of how women were trapped in the past. Obviously Esme, she just wants to be kind of just what a modern woman is, and she wasn't, unfortunately. I think that how O'Farrel created Esme, she's created her as a really good character. She's basically, you believe that she's normal, you do, and you see that potentially what's happened to her is unfair, because basically she gets put into a psychiatric hospital, Coldstone, from a really young age, and she's just there forever, and you're kind of wondering why. And like, Iris never even knows that she has Esme. One day she gets a phone call from Coldstone, and they're saying that they're shutting down Coldstone, and can she come and collect Esme? She has no idea that she even had this great aunt, but O'Farrel really does do her really well, because obviously she wants the reader to believe that Esme was put in there unfairly, and the reader does believe, I believe that the whole way through. But after spending 60 years in Coldstone, you can see that things have changed, and she's not what she would have been had she just been able to live her life freely. But at the same time, you get basically what happened in Coldstone, you get what happens in the present day, and you also get what happened to make her go into Coldstone, and it's just really good. And as well, I thought that the ending was absolutely phenomenal. It has a really good twist, and I did guess what the twist was before it happened, but I didn't open the book and know instantly what was going to happen, and sometimes that's the worst, and this is okay, because to be honest, sometimes I like the feeling of knowing that I've guessed it. Overall, oh no, sorry, the book focused mostly on Esme, and so the ending is, I think the ending is completely and utterly justified, and actually I quite like the ending, but I think that other people might not, because if you read the book, then I'd really be interested in how people felt about that ending, because the ending's a bit controversial, I don't know. But I think it was justified and completely fair enough after what Esme goes through. But it does leave quite a lot unanswered. Basically, the story is really about Esme. Obviously, the Vanishing Act of Esme Lennox is following Esme, but you do get quite a lot of information about Iris's life. You know who she's seeing, you know that she's got a stepbrother that's not her real stepbrother, because she's known him since she was really young, but the parents aren't still together, but they've clearly got a connection. But you don't find out what happens. That's all left, kind of thing, for you to ponder. And I quite like that, because it mostly was focusing on Esme. We don't really need to know what happens to anyone else, and I think that by doing it so that we don't find out what happens to other people, that we can just imagine what happens there, she's really just centered the book on Esme, and you leave just thinking actually that was all about Esme, and Esme's story is just so tragic and so horrible, and but also I quite liked Maggie O'Farrell's style. She writes quite easily, the prose is good. I mean, I don't like the fact that it doesn't have chapters, I'll be honest. I don't like the fact that it uses breaks, and I don't like the fact that when she does go back into the past, it's just because of a break, and in times it's actually not even with a break, it's just in the middle of the narrative, and the only way you can realise you flipped back to the future is just to be like an in present day, but it just doesn't, sometimes that's not even there, and you're just like, whoa, hold on a second, where am I now, what year am I in? But I did like the way that, because Kitty, when she's older, she has Alzheimer's, and therefore O'Farrell uses disjointed text and different paragraphs to depict Kitty's incoherent mind, and I thought that was really clever, and it allows the reader to guess at what occurred and what will occur, but it still keeps everything shrouded in mystery, because you're getting clues, you're getting information about what happened in the past, what's happened to Kitty, what Kitty's opinion is on stuff, but you can't, every time you think you're getting somewhere, she just cuts that paragraph onto another paragraph, completely different thing. But it's really clever, because it'll be something about, like, she likes the flowers in Esme's hair one second, the next paragraph will be somewhere completely different and a different time, but it will be about they will join on from the flowers, and I think that that's a really interesting idea to potentially how minds that aren't really all there might be working. But overall I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. While I think the overall story is beautiful and it's going to probably sit with me for quite some time while I think about it, it's left me a little bit confused, and I think it moved a little bit too fast in places and a little bit too slow in other places. I know that that sounds really cliche as a not really committed comment, but that's honestly how I feel. So 7 out of 10, and hopefully I think though I would recommend it, and you should pick it up and give it a read. Definitely, and also check out World Book Night Day books from this year as well, because I've already had a look at them and there are some really good ones on there as well. Okay, thanks.